heart attack. Fast, fatal, hard impact. Past painful scars, in fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact, don't ask, grab reactions, jacked. Attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose. Pick a new silver juice. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kure Show here, and now. Whenever we last left off with this series, it was a minute. But let me give a quick refresher. Izuku, he's currently in the Kengan Annihilation matches. He fought 2 matches in the first day and found out that somebody might be against him. Fact is, he is the new kid on the block, per se. And a lot of people want to stand in his way of winning this fight, or this competition. And Deku, he's well aware of that. Now, Deku knows about many things that have happened in the Kengan Annihilation matches, not just inside of the ring, but out of it. Deku, he's heard quite a bit of things growing up, and he knows exactly what they do here. And it is very much bad. Now, Deku, he's well aware of it. He knows that whether it be in the ring or outside the ring, people will try to get to you. People will try to make you win or lose. And everybody, they're doing that because he's a Kure. He is a very dangerous opponent. He's calm. He doesn't scream or show anger. And he actually uses tactics and different fighting styles that they've seen Ryan use before. Deku, he's quick, clean, and precise. While Ryan, he's loud, he's belligerent, and he enjoys destroying and ripping his opponents apart piece by piece. And right now, Deku, he is different. They think he's more dangerous because he's the way they think Cures would typically be. And right now, somebody is knocking on his door. And Deku, he just walked over and answered it. As Deku answered the door, he does see somebody standing there. Deku, surprised, as it's actually his cousin. Now, Deku, yeah. He does ask Saki exactly what she's doing here, to which she does just say one simple thing. Deku, he needs to stop. What do you mean? She's not a Kure. She is not worthy of being inside of the clan. What are you talking about? Her walking in. She goes directly over to the counter, grabs a cup out of the cabinet, and then walks over to the table with a pitcher of water. Her pouring a glass of it as she actually does turn around to look at Deku. Deku walking over as he himself does actually go to lean against the counter. And Saki, she does inform Deku. Earlier today, she saw something interesting whenever she was walking by. She heard a conversation, and she just happened to eavesdrop on it. She saw Deku and one of the girls he's associated with. One of the girls they trained with. Her name was, what was it, Edgy something? Ejiro or whatever. She is not worthy of being a Kure, and Deku associating with her could be bad news. And Deku, he does just stare at his cousin. He knows what Saki is talking about. And he actually just stare at her. Okay. So, why haven't you gone to your father about this? Because I want to talk to you. It's not just that. My father was very, very strict on this. He didn't want me to come here, per se. In fact, he's been acting differently. I suspect something is very wrong. Do you? Yes, I do. Not just with him, but a certain situation. He's become... How am I supposed to say it? He's been training a lot harder. Ever since grandfather died, he's been acting strange. Hmm, interesting. So he's been acting weird. Yes. Whenever I mentioned I was going to come here, he gave me the phrase that means not only is this place compromised, it's dangerous, and I shouldn't come here. Now, I don't believe I have to inform you as to why that's a bad thing. The fact that he didn't want me here for these matches, it means a lot. In fact, I wouldn't say he's being fatherly. He's already been acting weird enough to where I've had theories as to what may be going on. But this is completely different. I don't know, he seems different to me. Really. Now, Deku doesn't know what to say. He's had suspicions and he has his own ideas in his head. He thinks that Ryan murdered their grandfather. But how can he tell that to Saki? If he tells his cousin, oh hey, your dad murdered our grandpa? Yeah, with no evidence she could lash out against him. Izuku, you know the way I was raised. The phrases that he uses, he never uses them. The ones he's taught us. Especially in my line of work. Now, Deku knows what she means. They used to be assassins together. Their uncle used to teach them things. He taught them many things. And, well, Deku would rather not think about back then. But he can't really deny it. Now, Saki does stand up, informing Deku that if those girls are going to be around, they have to prove they can defend themselves. Prove they're worthy of being Cure's, and then maybe they can join the clan. However, if one of them can't do it, they have to be dropped. Deku needs to be aware of the rules and the way they keep things. Otherwise, the Kure traditions can fall apart. If a main branch member defies things like this and goes rogue, it could cause a lot of problems. Deku can go excommunication from the clan, and some people may follow him. But she feels like if he does that, many people would break away, especially with her father in charge. Now, Deku he is confused by that. If what she's saying is correct and what he just heard is correct, well, what do you mean? Izuku, I don't already need to say it. Many people will follow my father. But many of them probably would rather not like to. If they see you, a stronger Kure leave, they'll follow you. Some will, without hesitation. But a war could brew up within our organization. Would you really want to do that? I see. What you're doing is in the best interest of our people, our family. Yes, it is. Now, do you understand what I mean? If a Kure war does break out, I'd rather our family not be separated into different sides. Especially because of what that may mean. You know your mother, and I know my father. Both of them would not hesitate to kill you if you break traditions. And you know it too. I do. Deku looking down at one of his hands. I just talk about how he just doesn't understand these feelings. I get it. You're not emotional. None of us are. But you can't let emotions cloud your judgment. Her standing up and going to leave. As Deku, he does want to disregard that last statement. Emotions. He doesn't really use them, but he's learning about them. They're not clouding his judgment, are they? Is he turning into less of a Kure? That's somewhat concerning Deku. If the answer to that question is yes, he feels like there might be something wrong with him. Now, this idea is still actually in Deku's head. Even after some time does pass by, and he's alone to think, then there's actually later. Deku, Mr. Yorozu, Momo, and all the other girls, they're all sitting down at a table. It's larger. It has a number in the middle, and it also does have a placard that does say Mr. Yorozu, along with even the corporation name of it. And Deku and everyone, they're all sitting down and eating dinner. It does make Deku just think. After everything that's been going on, after everything that's happened to him, it seems weird. And the girls, some of them do take notice to this. The first one was Kirishima, and then there was also Momo. However, there was also Mina. But then there was Kendo, and, well, that's just kind of how it rolled. At first, Kirishima noticed because she ironically got stuck sitting next to Deku. And while she did find it awkward, especially after what happened earlier, she did seem kind of distracted by something else at first. However, whenever she did go to turn to Deku to talk, she did notice that he was thinking, if you don't put it in a way. The expression on his face seemed different somehow. It didn't show that usual calm demeanor. It didn't show that usual anger that she's seen before. It just seemed strange. She kind of got stuck staring at him for a second. The long black hair that flows into white tips. And then there's the white hair at the base of his head. She is trying to think back on it. Isn't that a sign of stress? Or, well, something like that? It's hard to remember, but she remembers Deku talked about it before in passing conversation. Is he gonna, well, do something about that, or what? And then there actually is whenever Deku does turn his head. What is it? Her staring at him. Deku's voice seemed a bit more human in a way. Not the angry screaming she knew 5 years ago. Not the aggressiveness. It seemed calmer. Well, you look like you have something on your mind. Everybody turning and looking up towards Kirishima. Oh. Well, kind of. I'm just worried is all. You're worried about something? Bakugo across the table saying that that's actually kind of surprising. Everyone turned to her. As she just does bring up her hands and someone just shrug, saying that, can you really blame her? Think about how the guy always acts. Deku actually looking up to see the girl. Her hair is short. She must have got it cut recently. And Deku, he does just stare at her for a second. Well, I have changed a bit. More than I'd like to admit. My worries lie in, well, I guess the best way to say it, my family. Apparently, from what my cousin Saki told me, my uncle's acting different. You have a cousin? Yes. And in fact, she reminded me of something about myself. Something I rather don't like to talk about. But more other than that, my uncle, he's apparently, well, not acting crazier because that's not possible. He seems to be concerned more or less about something. I don't know what that something is, though. And that is what worries me. Okay, but why? Deku actually going to set down his fork, bringing his hands onto the table and saying that his uncle only ever has one reaction on something that should concern him. Either destroy it, kill it, or punch it. Never worry. When a Kure shows any emotion other than just, well, tactics and fighting, simple anger, or the desire to fight, it means that they're, in a way, not functioning properly. And for his uncle, the man has been that way for the last 2 decades he's known him, or known of him. It seems that he's diverting from this course. Whatever is happening, he believes it might be associated with his grandfather's passing. And this is actually where Bakugoshi does somewhat fall quiet. She's still not sure how Deku feels about that. But the idea of this hyper-violent man somehow changing, and the reason might be because of his father's passing, it seems suspicious in her eyes. Whenever she does point that out, Deku, he does agree with her. Well, does it make sense to him? It all seems fishy in a way. And he doesn't like that. Already because of what his grandfather left to tell him. He can't put it into words, because he's been told Deku actually going to say something that he has taught the girls, as he is going to bring his hand down and tap down to the table. The moment the girls do look down and see that Deku does do 3 or 4 taps, all of them, they do look around each other, as they realize what he does mean, Mr. Yaruzu looking very confused, as he just turned to his daughter and asked her what's going on. To which she does somewhat just lean over and whisper to her father that Deku is trying to say things aren't safe here. And while Mr. Yaruzu, he was already well aware of that since this is what usually happens here, it seems more surprising to him. Especially because this danger is now being pointed out plainly by Deku. And the fact is, the concept of danger between a Kure and a human, or Mr. Yaruzu, they're kind of blatantly obvious. The reputation that family has, for them to consider something dangerous means it has to be. There's no question about that. And it does concern Mr. Yaruzu, as he does quickly finish up dinner and head back to his room. Now, with that being said, Deku and the girls are all still there. As whenever everyone is done eating, there actually is the topic that has come up. People are asking about Deku's fight against Cosmos, or Cosmo, and even the other guy. And while Deku, he does talk about how it's strange to fight men with quirks, he does talk about how it was actually very fun. And Cosmo, he's actually a very worthy opponent. And it's very surprising that he hasn't been, well, brought into the Kure fold, especially because of that rare ability, even for a male. To possess it, it's quite remarkable. And all of them, they're kind of confused, asking Deku what the quirk was. And Deku, he does talk about how his quirk was the ability to stop time or move through it. Imagine it like being able to freeze for 10 seconds. Everybody else around you is frozen, and the amount of time, depending on how fast and skilled you are, anything can happen. If Deku and the man were to have met outside of the ring and it was a random encounter, the man could quite literally kill Deku with a knife by just a quick slice to the throat or stab to the artery or heart. However, Cosmos, being stuck with fists the way he was, it wasn't really that good. While they were using their own simple tactics and their own ways of fighting, Deku's defenses are superior to his own. In fact, you'd have to say that Cosmos, he has very weak defenses, because the way he guards and the way he's not used to being attacked, it's quite simple. no one's ever gotten close enough to test his defenses. That's why they're so weak. And they do see Deku's logic on that. They didn't even try to piece that together. While Cosmos must be remarkably a very strong individual without his quirk, fact of the matter is, he's still human. So that does mean in the end, he would have failed. And then Deku, he does somewhat go from smiling at the thought of fighting Cosmos to somewhat frowning. And the girls, they all do somewhat look at that. They do want to know why he is concerned. But Deku, he does look over towards the table where his family is all sitting. His mother, his cousin, his sister, and his uncle. He does stare the direction, as he does notice that his cousin does look up at him from a glance, before going back to her food. And this actually does somewhat make Deku think, Now, he does go to open his mouth. He does want to inform all of them of this fact, but he feels ashamed of it. He doesn't know what to say. He doesn't know how to put it into words. He doesn't, well, it doesn't sit right in his gut. Even then, excommunication from his family, would it really be worth it? This idea in his head, it just doesn't click. Why? It just doesn't make sense. He's seen their strength, he's seen their power. But, well, has Saki. And this does somewhat make Deku just go to stand up. Most of his food is still on his plate. And they do watch as Deku he did go to stand up and grab his plate before going to leave, informing them that he's going to be having dinner in his room. And it does sort of surprise all of them. They know something is disturbing Deku now. Fact is, he's trying to avoid them. And, well, they don't know why. However, then there's actually Kirishima. She mistakes this as Deku trying to avoid her. And whenever Deku did go to leave, and the girls were talking about why he might be trying to avoid them, Kirishima, she did someone go to bury her face in her hands, while her face turned red. All the other girls looking her direction, and asking if she knows anything about it. No, I don't. As her face is red, and she's just trying to wave around her hands as if to say no. However, all the girls, they're not buying it at all. It's not working. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed, and have an amazing night. Catch you guys in the next part, where there'll be some more fights.